The Poppy Playtime and Fortnite collab has a ton of hidden lore. Lore that's actually really significant, like some backstory to Elliot Ludwig's daughter, the poppy flower, experiment profiles, and so much more. This stuff kinda blew me away. So with that being said, let's go over all this new lore of Poppy Playtime. Now, I want to quickly say I tried to find all this stuff myself, and well, here's how it went. Yeah, it wasn't really playable, so shout out to all the people that were able to find everything. I'll have their links down below. The first note is from Poppy's diary. It reads, "Dear diary, do you think I'll still love this place when I'm a grown-up? Some kids at school were saying that when you get old, you get bitter and you don't like the things you used to. I turned 11 today, and it's still the most magical place to me. Every year they make new toys, like the little sailor, or build new parts of the factory, and I can't wait to explore them and be surrounded by that magic. Father says Playtime wants to build all sorts of stuff like this all over the world. When they do, I hope he takes us there to visit. Heart, Poppy." This note is huge. She mentions a little sailor, possibly hinting at a new character we will see in chapter 5, or maybe it's just a background character. The note is dated March 7th, 1960. She also mentions how she turned 11 on this day, meaning her birthday is March 7th, 1949, 1 year before the Poppy doll was released. She even signs this note with Poppy. This means that Elliot Ludwig's daughter was named Poppy. Poppy was still alive during this note. She even mentioned school. She was just an 11-year-old girl writing in her diary, excited for her father's work. This is so cool because now we know a little bit more about Poppy's backstory. Elliot's daughter was named Poppy, likely naming the doll after her, and we know her birthday. Therefore, she is pretty old during the present day. This also means she likely died after the 1960s, bringing us a little bit closer to her experiment/death date. Staying on the topic of Poppy, we get a note from an interview with Elliot Ludwig about the Poppy doll. The interviewer asks him what he can tell us about Poppy. He replies with, "Poppy can answer the question just fine on her own." He pulls her string and she says, "Hi, my name is Poppy, I love you." Elliot goes on about how she is the first truly intelligent doll in the world, the first doll to quite literally have a conversation with a child. Of course, we have already heard this. The interviewer asks what inspired him to make this, and he replies with his lovely daughter, his Poppy. So this does confirm what I just said from before. The Poppy doll was inspired by his daughter. Elliot continues with, "I like to believe everything is personal. When I made my very first doll, I gave it to her. Immediately I could see the spark in her eye, like she'd just been handed a whole new world. No matter how young, I think all children can see that. That was the start. I knew right away then what Poppy needed to be. A spark to a child's imagination. Of all the amazing things Poppy can do, no one is greater than this." This gives us another sneak peek into Elliot's personality, but it also enforces his beliefs behind Playtime Co.'s start, making toys that are the reason for a child's smile. The next note tells us how they source the poppy flower seeds. The strain of the flower is called N12. It also includes synthetic amino. This solution is used to protect fetal membranes and support organ development after an injury and/or surgery. So this is something Playtime Co. is using to help keep the kids alive when transferring them into bigger bodies. Or something like that. I'm no doctor. Either way, it's so cool to finally see a little bit more details about the experiments. I'm sure these 55-gallon barrel drums are something we'll see a lot of in chapter 5. There are also a couple notes from Avery and Rich. Rich mentions how rumors are spreading about a murderer hidden within the factory because employees are going missing. However, we know what's really going on. There isn't anything groundbreaking between these two notes, but I figured I would mention them. Now let's jump into the long-leg notes. The first is an incident report for experiment 1223, presumably Daddy Longlegs. It says how just after 8 p.m. staff placed Mommy Longlegs and Daddy Longlegs into a containment cell together in hopes that this could prove therapeutic for Mommy Longlegs' harsh behavior, just like how Kissy was to Huggy. Staff told Mommy Longlegs that Daddy Longlegs could work alongside her if she maintained good behavior. However, 1222 became physically combative, scaring 1223, meaning Mommy Longlegs attacked Daddy Longlegs. Staff escaped with minimal injuries only because in that moment of attack, all that mattered to her was getting rid of the thing that she believed would take her kids from her, meaning she attacked Daddy Longlegs because she thought he would replace her. She viewed him as competition rather than a husband. This tells us Mommy Longlegs and presumably Daddy Longlegs did not have a good relationship. It continues stating that 1223 was redacted, possibly hinting that Mommy Longlegs killed him. The final part of this report says the same conditioning procedures cannot be applied to every subject. Each experiment is different, they all have a mind of their own. Just because this tactic worked for Kissy and Huggy does not mean it would work for the other experiments. So it seems she had a hard time adjusting to her new job. Another Mommy Longlegs no is an integration follow-up report. When they originally tried to put her in the game station, she caused 3 deaths and 8 injuries. But they think these actions are because of Mary's nightmares when she was exposed to Catnap's red smoke. Regardless, she is slowly adjusting, being a shell of her former self. The note continues with, I think mommy genuinely does care about the children, and provided we can limit staff exposure to her, maybe even removing the human guide altogether and conditioning mommy to walk the children through the games, I think she can be valuable here. This kind of reinforces the idea that Mommy Longlegs was very involved with the kids during their games. But it also hints that she was very hostile towards the staff, which we kind of already knew, but I'll talk about this more later. This brings us to a Mommy Longlegs interview. This interview was recorded following her attempted integration into the game station. The interviewer JN mentions how Mommy Longlegs caused quite the stir during her integration process. She wants to help but needs something from her. Mommy Longlegs cuts her off and starts saying M, then Maria. JN then asks what that name means to her, and Mommy Longlegs yells, "You took her, you took Maria." Honestly, I'm not sure who Maria is. We know Mommy Longlegs' human name was Mary. This is close to Maria, so maybe she's talking about her original name. I think that's what's happening. She's implying that she took her life from her, but honestly, I don't know. I guess this could be another person. Maybe it was a friend to her while she was human. The next note is a game station assessment providing some lore to Raby Baby. Her name was Jane Elswin. Only scoring a 2 in musical memory, she seemed bored with the test. Jane rushed through it, making intentional errors. In Whack-A-Wuggy, she scored a 5. She performed like she could predict which Huggy would pop out next. It was as if she internally mapped out the behavioral patterns of each one. She was quick to study with good instincts. However, during statues, she had done something staff had never seen before. PJ lost Jane during the test. She managed to bury her jacket and shoes in the pit, drawing PJ away from her. Her reasoning for this was, PJ hears and smells. That's how he finds you. I just gave him something else to find. Jane could read this purely based on PJ's behavior during the test, and it was only her second time. So the staff member Sarah Abel suggested Jane would be perfect for Project Raby Baby, subject 1198. Now this tells us that the Nightmare Critter's bigger body came before Mommy Longlegs, which is kind of interesting. We finally have an experiment number for PJ Pugapillar. 1174. After a great deal of probing, conditioning, and other tedious procedures to bend its mind to shape, the scientists finally achieved the results they wanted. After utilizing similar methods to those used to create 1166, Yarnaby, 1174 sense of smell and hearing are impeccable. It can track any subject passing through the game station and return on instinct to its starting position once the test concludes. PJ shows no resemblance to its previous self. Whoever it was are blissfully absent from the experiment. Signed, Harley Sawyer. This experiment profile is very vague about how they actually shaped PJ into his job. It makes you wonder just how brutal those tedious procedures really were. Harley also saying whoever it was we selected shows just how much he did not care about the kids' lives. He doesn't even remember the kid's name. It's one of the many examples to his cruelty. Along with PJ, we also finally have an experiment number for Bunzo Bunny, 1176. His experiment profile reads, Bunzo performed exactly to its intended function. He crashes at symbols like a simple little toy, performs the role of a looming threat for incorrect answers in musical memory, and crosses no behavioral boundaries in the staff's presence. He is without a doubt a success, and yet his creation stirs nothing to me. I admit I grow exhaustion beginning here with 1176. The vision presented seems limited. An experiment here or an experiment there made for a specific purpose seems like a waste of time when my experiments could be made for so much more. The envelope needs pushing and vision needs carrying ever forward. That is all, signed Harley Sawyer. So this confirms these small experiments like Bunzo Bunny were made simply for a job and nothing more. No personality underneath its tiny skin. Of course, Harley would change this with the Bigger Bodies initiative. The next note is titled A Strange Note. It reads, For the curious, the theater incident, the disappearances, the sightings, all are true. All are connected. Nobody's safe, everybody suffers, some more than others, but you aren't powerless. If you believe, keep this note and find the next one this time next week. If you don't, burn it. Tell anyone and I'll know. don't be stupid, a friend. It seems Playtime Co. had another whistleblower besides Rowenstahl. This can't be him because the dates of the theater incident and his death don't line up. So maybe another employee knew what was going on. It makes me wonder if we'll see more of this note in chapter 5. But honestly, it could just be a throwaway note to give more life to the world. The last handful of notes are either things we already knew about or stuff that isn't as significant. I do want to point out this one though. It mentions different blocks of the factory where the train would go through. Playcare, the labs, presumably the prison, the game station, and another area we might explore in chapter 5. Or this is something I'm missing from chapter 4. But since the train goes there, I think this is a location we will see in the next chapter. Now let's jump into the tapes. There are 6 of them, and they're sort of split into 2 audios. Unfortunately, there isn't anything too groundbreaking here. The first is a welcome audio for new employees, and the other is a conversation between staff and one of the kids in the game station.
And welcome to your first day here at Playtime. As is our custom, I'm here to talk you through the basics of this great company and to ensure you're set up for success. This is the Playtime Company. Here we, and by extension you, are tasked with creating a little bit of what this world needs for those who really need it. Joy. And how, you ask, is this joy created? Why, through toys. Every inch of our little world through those grand entry doors has been tailored to that need. And you, my friend, are a crucial component in that dream. We here at Playtime never settle for convention or tradition. So expect the unexpected. Give us your all and have fun. Oh, and for your contract, any leaking of confidential information, be it direct or indirect, is subject to Clause 15 of your contractual agreement and will result in immediate termination.
So, Cassandra, tell me what you think of the game station. That is, what you think of it as a test of your memory, reaction time, strength, etc.
It's the best. There's lots of games, a train, and I get to use a grabby thing.
And what does Mommy Longlegs say as you make your way through the game?
Just that she'll take care of us? Did she won't anybody hurt us?
Hurt. What does hurt mean? Cassandra, did Mommy say she was going to hurt you?
I'm sorry. I don't want to get her in trouble.
No one's in trouble, my dear. But thank you for speaking to me. Let's get you on back to Playcare.
Now, the conversation with Cassandra is obviously the most important here. She loves the game station, and when the man asks what Mommy Longlegs says while she makes her way through the games, Cassandra replies with, just that she will take care of us, that she won't let anybody hurt us. He then asks if Mommy Longlegs is going to hurt them, to which she gets nervous and says she doesn't want to get her in trouble. I don't think this means Mommy Longlegs was actually hurting the children. That's not what Cassandra said at all. In fact, she says the opposite, how Mommy Longlegs won't let anyone hurt them. I think this is implying that Mommy Longlegs will hurt other people, like staff, to protect the kids. That's why she didn't want to say anything about it. This refers back to the other Mommy Longlegs note, how they wanted to limit staff exposure because they knew Mommy Longlegs would hurt them. Overall, there was some pretty significant lore found within the notes, which is surprising. I'm not sure why Mob would hide lore to their game inside of Fortnite. Obviously, it's a way to get people to play, but still. Stuff like this should be shown in-game or the ARG, especially things about Elliot Ludwig's daughter. I'd even rather learn about them in a book. Not to mention, they quite literally have almost this exact game mode that's in Fortnite as their own game. It would have been so cool to find all of this in a Project Playtime update. The whole idea of this is super cool, but the problem is because it's Fortnite. Things feel less significant. It's a little hard to take Poppy Playtime lore serious when you can find it in Fortnite. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, I tried to find everything myself, but it was just unplayable. The grab pack was extremely buggy and nothing worked. I tried 4 different times and it was just miserable, but maybe you had a better experience with it. Regardless, how do you feel about all this new lore? Were you surprised by it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like horror game content like this, please consider subscribing. Also, I have a Discord server, so if you want to chat with me, I recommend joining. And if you want to support the channel more, you can become a member. Don't forget to follow my Twitter at TerrifiedT. Thanks for watching.